body. So again, if you've got, back to body, mind, soul, spirit, if you've got something that's troubling you mentally, well, watch your food. Watch the body, because they're connected. Water. It's vitally important. Structured water. Water is always H2O, but it contains different levels of structure. And the more structured that water is, the more information it contains. And information is life force energy. So the water, if you're buying water at a gas station in a plastic bottle, I would bet, if I was in Las Vegas right now, that it is horrendous for you. Right? The water's dead to begin with. The plasticizers in the water, that water could have been sitting out in the sun for days, weeks, months before you got it. Structured water. And I'm just going over these things. We could talk about each one of these things at length. You know, David Wolf can talk about food for 2 weeks. And structured water, same thing. But we're going to all have this all on our website, so you can kind of check it out and follow the links and get some information on all this, right? So supplements. Let's talk about supplements. Our food. The soil that we are getting our food grown in right now is not the same as the soil of 100 years ago. The soil has no nutrients, so our food has no nutrients. So we need supplements. Go to a naturopath. Go to somebody that understands, that can help you. Because if you're, I heard the other day, I think it's like one orange now is like 1/20th of the vitamins of an orange 50 years ago. So supplements. We need supplements. Detox. Right now, there are so many chemicals in our environment. Our body doesn't know how to recognize them, so it can't eliminate them themselves. So if you want to feel healthy, if you want, you got to work on detoxification, because your body can't detox what's in it right now. Movement. Talk about a river. Body like a river. It's constantly renewing itself. When a river gets stuck, it gets stagnant. Same with our body. We need to move them. Move them. Yoga, qigong, anything. Exercise. It's not about triathlon. It's about moving energy. And lastly, get body work. Go get some body work. Nurture your body. It helps to release toxins. It also helps to release cellular memory. Body work. Go get some. So let's continue along in our body, mind, soul, spirit exploration. Let's look at the mind. And what is the mind? Well, the mind that's something that's been a question since the beginning of time. What is this thing? Is it this thing that's right in my head? If I have an idea, I'm thinking about my dog. Somebody cut my head open, is my dog in there? No. So the mind is this electrochemical factory, but most importantly for us right now, it is the generator of our thoughts, feelings, emotion. It thinks our reality into existence. So our mind is creating our reality. So in order to understand that, let's just explore the mind a little bit and explore these different aspects of who we are. And to know thyself, we're going to talk about stories, we're going to talk about shadow, we're going to talk about beliefs, and we're going to talk about them very quickly because many of you know about them, but unless we understand them, we will never understand ourselves. So let's talk about our stories, because stories shape reality. And stories are all of those things that we are telling ourselves why we can't be God. I grew up on the wrong side of town. I'm mentally challenged. I've got an impairment, whatever it is. And our stories are typically about events from time past that continue to play out in our lives today. They rob of us of vital life force energy. So stories, these things, and they become so real, we think that's who we are. Just like that story of addiction. I thought that's who I was. Then one day when I realized I'm done with that story, it's amazing how my life completely transformed. It was a story. A story. And we love our stories, so they're hard to get rid of. So I invite you to know your stories. Know your stories and be honest with yourself about that. Change your life. So the shadow. Let's talk about the shadow. And we can't discuss the mind without talking about these things. And the shadow are those aspects of ourselves that we deem to be so unworthy that we hide them. And we think we're hiding them from everybody else, but actually we typically are only hiding them from ourselves. And what we hide from ourselves, we will then project out onto the world. So every time something comes out of my mouth, like, you know what, that person isn't, I'm projecting that. That's me. That's my shadow piece coming up. So shadows, unacknowledged fears and unacknowledged shadow pieces pop up, and they are looming in our lives, running rampant, determining what your world looks like. And left unchecked, our shadows will take us down. And I love that story of the pastor with that big mega church. And this guy was the head of the Evangelist Association, and he was doing this and that, and he was so slick, this guy. And during this video I was watching, he kept on talking about gay marriage. Gay marriage is the demise of the United States. Well, shortly after that video was released, this guy was caught with a male prostitute. So his shadow, he's projecting it out. You know, gay marriage is it. If we don't understand our shadows, they will consume us. Let's talk about beliefs for a moment. And Greg Braden, he's a pretty famous guy around these parts, so let's talk about his definition of belief. So the certainty comes from accepting what we think is true in our minds, coupled with what we feel is true in our hearts. That's a belief, and beliefs become our truths. And beliefs shape reality. If you think the world's a dangerous place, then it is. If you think that it's not, then it's not. And most of our beliefs, if you're anything like me, I was not handed a questionnaire at birth that said, what political party do you want to connect to? What religious organization do you want to connect to? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Our beliefs are handed to us, and they are invisible. So, the conscious mind, the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind, and Donald talked about it, is processing at least 500,000 times more information than the conscious mind. So it's like having this massive supercomputer that's running in the background, invisible to us. We have our conscious mind, this little laptop, and most of us are playing video games on it. So if we have this thing on our little laptop that I want to have a good life, and our main supercomputer is telling you you don't deserve it, well, which of those computers do you think is going to win? So our beliefs, this is important. Change your belief, change your life. So we talked about heart math at length. The heart sends more information to the mind than the mind sends to the heart. If you want to know your beliefs, you want to know your mind, know your heart. Epigenetics. Bruce Lipton has come up with a term, a scientific term, for what the ancients have known all along, that your beliefs affect your DNA, which is affecting your body. It's a fact now. For some reason, it didn't matter when the shaman were telling us this for thousands of years. Somehow Bruce Lipton comes out with it, and all of a sudden we believe it. So, but that's what we need. Again, so understand, change your beliefs, and you will change your life. It's as simple as that. So if wherever you're going to talk about your mental issues, or not talking to you about your stories, about your beliefs, about your shadow, then you might be missing an opportunity for wellness. So let's talk about our practices of the mind. Personal work. No getting around it. You got to do your personal work. You got to know yourself. A good way to know yourself, awareness practice. Awareness practice. Be conscious. You want to connect to your conscious mind, be conscious. Pay attention. And a great way to do that is with the first agreement, which is be impeccable with your words. If you are completely impeccable with your words in 2 days, I promise you will be way more conscious than you are now, because it's hard. And it's amazing the kind of things that just unconsciously come out of our mouths. So pay attention to that. And a great shaman pointed that out to me not long ago. Meditate, pray. We've got to meditate. We've got to get in between the gap. Spaces in between the thoughts. That's where the juice is. That's where the healing of the mind. Gratitude. If you wrote down 5 things that you were grateful for every single day and did nothing else, your life would improve. 1 year later, it would improve. And if anybody wants to try that and spend a couple of days at the sanctuary, if it doesn't work for them, then we'll talk about it. But I feel that strongly about it. Gratitude list. Here's an important one, and I would suggest that you destroy your television set. So destroy it. Because what goes in, junk out. You have a choice of what vibration you want to connect to. So if you want to see death and destruction, you can watch CNN. If you want to see that in movies, whatever, that's your choice. But don't walk around wondering why you're mentally garbled if we're putting in all kinds of stuff. Nature is very healing. Prince Charles just came out with, again, what the shaman have talked about for thousands of years, connection with the natural world. It's the most healing thing ever. Spend time out there in nature. Heart math. Look it up. It's get that congruence between mind and brain. Set your intention every morning. If you wake up and do the same thing that you did for the last 20 years, you're probably going to have the same day that you had for the last 20 years. Set your intention. Begin to get control of your mind so it's not your master. These are just some practices. Work with your mind. So let's continue. And now this is where things get good. Because we are very connected in our culture to the body and the mind. We think that that's the end, the be-all and the end-all, but this is it. This is where the juice of life is right here. This is the soul. So what is the soul? Well, the soul is that part of us, that eternal, timeless, essential part of ourselves. Our soul knows that there's no life and no death. Our soul is the individuated expression of God, of the One. Your soul is your I am presence, unity consciousness. It knows these connections. Our stories of great time past and times to come, of great civilizations past and civilizations to come. Our souls have been around since the dawn of time. And our souls have incarnated again and again and again. We have been every possible being on this planet, of every race, of every socioeconomic condition. We know too much to think that we are separate. So our soul is the place where our lives become archetypical and mythic. It's where we become important. It's when all of a sudden our journeys are important. It's when our journeys step into these amazing things that we are alive and we get to go through these processes to learn and grow. And souls come together like they have in this room. And when two souls come together and then they split apart again, those two souls are never the same again. Never the same. That's your soul. Isn't that kind of cool? So our soul, it lives and breathes sacredness. The soul is about sacred. It knows the sacredness of life, that every breath, every heartbeat. So we hear these things, the sacredness of life. But unless we're working from a soul level, then they're not cerebral. Our soul does not understand English. It doesn't speak to us in English. It speaks to us in the language of art and music and poetry, and dance, emotion. Go describe to somebody what the Mona Lisa looks like. It's not the same as seeing it. And our soul song, when we connect to our soul song, and that's our purpose. Our purpose, your greatest gift to planet Earth is to be the person that you came here to be. Because there are no two souls of the 7 billion souls that happen to be incarnated right now, no two of them are the same. That means you have something that you can do better than anybody else. That's your soul song. That holds your gifts, your perfection, your innocence, your grace. Our soul knows that we are part of this amazing tapestry, this amazing symphony of life. And this is where things are juicy because our culture is kind of soulless right now. Plastic, artificial. So how do we bring down the practices of the soul? Talk about the soul. Well, soul retrieval. Soul retrieval is a process where you can go and take back something which has been taken from you, you have given away, or you have lost. It's a very powerful process. The shaman do it, there are other people that can do it. You can do it spontaneously. But when this part of you comes back and returns to wholeness, and this peat will wait for you until you are ready to receive it and its gifts. And when you bring it back, the gifts are profound. You want to know what your purpose is. Connect to your soul. Bring back those pieces that might not be available to you right now. Creative expression. You want to know your purpose? Express yourself. Sing, dance, cook. Do art. Get in that time, that place where time stands still. When people are in that zone, when Tiger Woods is playing golf, He's not thinking about what he didn't do or what he did do or his list of things to do. He's right there. He's fully present, and that is the connection to the divine. Your creative essence, that's your soul song. The sacredness of life. Remember, the soul lives and breathes in the sacred. Remember that there's nothing any more sacred in standing in front of the Dalai Lama as there is standing in front of the checkout clerk at Dunkin' Donuts. They're the same. And your soul knows when you are holding one any higher than the other. Your mind thinks that they're different, but your soul knows. And when we don't hold all of life sacred, our soul knows and feels it. So those of you that are challenged energetically to be on this planet right now would find it's challenging because your soul feels that. So remember the sacredness of your breath, of life. If our goal as a soul is to remember that every moment of our lives is sacred, and then we would be understanding the gifts that Rana was talking about. This is not a life to get out of or to not come back and incarnate. I hope I come incarnate as many times as I need to, whether that's 1 or 1 million more. It's exciting either way because it's all sacred. Ritual and ceremony. We're missing that. The ceremony of life. Connect to ceremony, everything. You don't have to live in a tribal community to have ceremony. Everything. Going to Starbucks can become a ceremony. Be a ritual. Kissing, right, exactly. Kissing your love can be a ceremony. It doesn't have to be some, well, I got married, that was a ceremony. I got retired, that was a ceremony. Everything can be a ceremony. The soul thrives on ritual and ceremony. Nature, again. There is nothing more spiritual than nature. There is nothing more sacred than nature. Go outside. Reconnect with nature. And reconnect to your community. Souls are not islands. They are here to be with other souls and co-create. That's why we're here. Don't be alone. Your soul so wants to be in spiritual, like-minded communities, whatever that means to you. That's the soul, and that's how we connect to the soul. And if we don't connect to the body, the mind, the soul, and we'll talk about the spirit, then we're incomplete. So now let's complete by talking about the spirit. And this is another one of those things that we could sit around for days and discuss. What is the spirit? And for purpose of this conversation, we're going to talk about the spirit as our energy body. And every person, every being has an energy body. It's a torus-shaped luminous field around them that is the antenna for life force energy. It is your connection between the divine I am presence and your physical body. This is also the storehouse of your personal experience in every life. And if you don't believe in reincarnation, then this life. And if you're having trouble, if anybody out there doesn't know or believe in the energy body, I would invite you to just imagine if you did. Imagine if you did. Imagine if there was something that's around you that instructed your DNA how to grow your body. That was the place where disease showed up first in this blueprint before it shows up in our physical body. And just imagine for a minute that you could go to that place and clear the imprint of disease so you never had to experience it in the physical. Just imagine the implications of that. And I'm going to tell you that it's real. And it's been depicted since the beginning of time in paintings and the luminous field. So energy organizes all matter. So this is your energy field that is organizing your body. So let's talk about, because we're running out of time, how do we deal with the spirit? What are the practices of the spirit? Well, clean your energy field. Release the information of trauma, because trauma wants to be healed, and our soul will keep bringing it back again and again and again until we do. So let's do it now. Get your energy field clean. Go see a shaman. Go see an energy worker. Go see somebody that can help. Again, go out in nature. We've been talking about nature a lot. Nature is ordered perfectly. The universe is ordered perfectly. Sometimes we forget our connection to that, and that's when we feel disconnected. So, I want to talk about one of my favorite, sexual life force energy, Kundalini. Your chakra system. Get energy flowing in your light them up. And there's a whole talk that we could have about every single one of these. Pray, meditate. Those are ways that we feed the Spirit. So now, what do? We're at the end. Body, mind, soul, spirit. We talked about it. No more disease. No more suffering. We have all of our energy available to us. Now what? Now it is time to activate. Activation is our natural state. Activation is that place where we can say to the mountain, move, and the mountain will move. Where Jesus says, what I can do, you can do more. Because we're activated. We have access to unlimited, unfathomable power, connection. And from this place, we are congruent, thought, feeling, emotion. And when we are activated, we walk around this life in a state of complete awe. How did I get here? What is this? This is the most amazing thing. And you'd be looking at that flower right there every single time and say the same thing. It's unbelievable. And once we activate, now we are ready to co-create. Now we're ready. We're integrated. We're activated. Now we're ready to step in as the creators that we've been hearing about. So this is how we bring it down. Now we're ready to create. Now it's not about Ferraris. Now it's about what our heart's longing to express. What you're here to do. Who you're here to be. How you're going to help the world, your community, your family. We're available. Now we're available for service. And that is the highest form. That's the highest order of anything that we can do. The planet is our family. The universe holds our dreams. We truly know what it feels like to be connected with God. When we are co-creating, when we are activated, when we are integrated, we know in that moment it is no longer just talk, that we are part of all that there is. And all that there is part of us. So, I'll say it again. You matter. You so matter. And you have the power. And we just went over it. You have the power. You have everything you need to live an amazing life. And you have the responsibility to do so. Be all that you can be. Integrate, activate, and co-create. Now is your time. Blessings, light beings.